Hello everyone, welcome to Code Syntax, and today we are going to do some Python projects, and one of them is known as Student Report Card System. So that's the one that we are gonna do. So first of all, let's create a file by the name student report card project. So just .py. Let me put some dash here. Great. So something like this. So first of all, the way I've said, we are gonna create a file which I have named by the name student report card. So we are going to make a student report card project. So let's start. Without wasting our time, let's start with the print statement here. We can give some lines here to make it more stylish in a way. Then we can write student report card system like this, and we can give some more dashes here, and when we go to run button, it will show us this student report card system. So it's working great. Let's continue. After we have printed this statement, now comes the functions that we are going to use in this Python project tutorial. So what will be the first function that we will make? And that is def, sorry, not in capitals, def get student data. So this is one of the functions that I'm gonna make here. Let me delete the terminal. Okay, then we put our brackets here and a colon. We aren't putting anything in the parentheses. We shall continue like this, and our aim here is that we will be taking 3 input marks. So first of all, we'll ask enter your marks in subject 1, enter your marks in subject 2, enter your marks in subject 3. So we shall be asking the user to input 3 different subject marks. So how will we do it? We shall make a variable here of the name s1. So s1 is equals to something like this, and we shall put an int because it will be gonna be a number, int, then input because we want the input of the user, and we shall ask enter marks in subject 1, something like this, and it's nice. We can continue, and we shall ask for s2. If you don't know, guys, s, I'm just putting it to be as score 1, score 2, so that's what it means. So for score 2, we shall repeat the same thing, so we can just copy paste and then change later. So let's copy this and paste it here. Sorry, Control V. Here it is. So enter marks in subject 2 like this. Everything else remains the same. And again, Control V. And here let me change the variable to be s3 is equals to something like this. And here I'm gonna change it to 3. So first of all, it's asking me for score 1, which is enter marks in subject 1, s2, which is enter marks in subject 2, s3 is equals to enter marks in subject 3. So here are the 3 variables that I'm putting here, and they will be asking you, the user, I mean, which marks you want to input. And after then, we shall use the return statement because we are going to return these values back. So return name. Of course, I didn't give the name, so I will repeat back name, then s1, s2, s3. You might be seeing that this blue font is now shining because it was actually dull. And I put this name because I actually didn't write here that statement here. So because of course we have to ask the name of the student. So let's make a variable here like name. Name is equals to, then we shall put input. Then we'll write enter. So in capital, let's put the E in capital, enter your name, something like this, and it's great. So this is how it would look like. When we click the run button, we aren't seeing anything, right? Because we haven't printed anything anyway. So let's continue with our things. So we have finished the first function where we needed to get the student data, whereby we are asking his or her name. Then we are asking for his subject 1 marks, subject 2 marks, and subject 3 marks. And after all this, we are gonna return the name S1, S2, and S3 so that we check and see, because we have to return actually in functions. So we have returned, we have finished the first function. Now let's continue with our second function, that is def calculate total and average. Because after all, when we have entered these marks, of course, we need to calculate the total marks and the average marks. So for that reason, let's make another function that will capture all these details. So def calculate total and average, simple. So something like this, and that was a function, and we give it brackets and a colon here. But inside this, we are gonna put the 3 variables here, S1, S2, and S3. I will tell you why, because here's the thing. We are gonna get the total and average of these scores, and for that reason we'll have to put these scores in these parentheses. So that's why we have to input these S1, S2, and S3 into the second function, because we are getting the total and average of these 3 specific scores, S1, S2, and S3. So you shall see now it's dull, but whenever we'll calculate the total average, it will become shiny again. It will be shiny blue once again. So total is equals to S1 plus S2 plus S3. Why? Because we want the total, and total is done by adding the 3 specific subject scores. That is for subject 1, which is S1, subject 2, S2, and subject 3, S3. So we shall be adding those 3 to get the total. And now after this, we shall do the average. Of course, we also need to get the average, and average is done by this. So average will be the total. Of course, whenever you want to get the average, you get the total first and divide by the number of items, or rather the numbers that you use. So for instance, for now, there were 3 of them, S1, S2, and S3. So these are 3 of them. So we shall do total divide by 3 to get the average. So it shall be total over 3. Simple. So this is how we shall do. And you can see here that this total is now shining once again here, because we have already used that total here. That's why it's back. Now, average has become dull. Why? Because we shall now use average as well, because we shall do return total average. And when we do this, again, the average, this average will be shiny back again. So let's do that. Return total and average. Simple. So it will return the total. Here is the calculation that we did, and average. You see it's shining back once again. So yeah, because we have returned the value, and so we have will return the total and the average. Simple. And that was a function that we made. Now let's move to function number 3. We have, first of all, we made a function to get the student data. Then the second function we made to calculate the total and average. So I'm simply making this like this in detail, because to understand what the function means, you can use a shorter word, but this is just to actually make you more understandable. So that's why. And now let's move to our third function, which is to get the grade. So how will we get the grade? First of all, you have seen that we have used average. So in grade, for instance, you got a 70%, and 70 maybe means a B+. And how did you get that B+? Maybe we check that if 70 is equals to, that's a B+, then of course that 70% you go through this average function, this average, because average is total over 3. So if you got an average of 70%, then you will be getting a B plus, so something like that. So let's make a function regarding to the grade. So def grade, maybe you can put it as get grade, something like this, and a parenthesis here. But inside we are going to use average, because we shall be using average to get the grade. So let's see, if average, right, is equals to, or maybe greater, right, we'll start with an 80. If you get an 80, then that's an A. So if average is greater or equal to 80, right, so we put a colon here, then return, not print. We shall not be using print, we shall be using return, because we are inside a function. So we shall use return. So return an A plane, something like this. If you get the average here, we have, that's why we actually use this average function here, because if we get this average of more than 80 or equal to 80%, right, that's the average the user will get. If he gets an 80%, he will get an A plane. And if the user, sorry, if the user, so if average, sorry, if average is greater or equal to, let's say, 70, yeah, 70 is great. So if average is greater or equal to 70, then he will be getting let's say a B plus or an A minus. Let's put it to be a B plus. So he will get a B plus. Now if average is greater or equal to, let's say, 60 here, then okay, let's put this to be an A minus to make it much better and smooth. So A minus, then this one will go to a B plus. So this actually makes more sense, right? B plus, something like this. So this is how it will actually look. Now we can even continue further and write if average is greater or equal to 50, then he might get a return. We can put a C plus, something like this, and else, because we have used the if function, and now after if, if can't be in all sides, of course, in the middle it will be elif anyway. Sorry for that inconvenience, elif. Again, here will be elif, because first it's if, then the others that you use will be elif. And lastly, we use an else. When all those prerequisites are finished, then what else remaining? Then you will return a fail. Simple. Return F. So if this is not completed, if he doesn't get an 80, maybe you'll get a 70. If he doesn't get a 70, you'll get a 60. If he doesn't get a 60, he gets a 50. And if the user doesn't get an average of 50, then that simply means that else he will just get an F. There is no any other reason to not get an F, because he didn't accomplish the A, he didn't get an A minus, he didn't get a B plus, he didn't get a C plus. So what left? That's an F, which is a fail. So this is a simple function to get the grade. And inside I had actually put average. Why average? Because the average is the one that will determine which grade you'll get, because there's 80, 70, 60, these are the averages. So if the user maybe in subject 1 got a 10, another one 10, 10, so that is 30. Divide by 3, he gets an average of 10. And 10 lies in a fail, because he hasn't got a 50, hasn't got a 60, hasn't got a 70, or rather an 80. He is now living in F, because he got a 10%. So 10% simply means a fail. So it's simple as that. So now we can continue with our next function. The next function is now to display the report, in the sense that what the guy had written above will now get the report card. So when he entered this subject 1 scores, subject 2 scores, and subject 3 scores, and then he will finally get the report card of what he got as the total, what he got as the average, and the grade. So now that's the function that we will make to display the report card. As the name suggests, the title, Student Report Card System. So we have taken the data and now we shall report that, and we shall show to the user how the report card will look like. So let's make that function def display report. Display report. We can say card, or rather just leave it like that and put these brackets here. And then in display report, we are going to use the name function, the total, average, grade. All of these are going to be used in display report. So for that instance, we shall use all of them. So name, then we shall be using total. I hope you're getting me. If you don't, you can repeat this. So we are writing the name, total, average. We are writing the grade. So these are some of the important functions that we shall be using inside the display report. That's why I'm writing them down, because we shall be using these 4 to get the those functions, those name, total, average, and grade. So now for that instance, sorry, I didn't put the colon here. So like this, and after that we shall print report. We can put some stylish dashes and report card, something like this, to show the user that here is the report card now. After he inputted those 3 scores, this is what he will get now. So print, another print here, print statement, sorry, that's in capital, print brackets here, and then we shall put name, because of course we shall repeat that to show him what he actually what's his name. So we'll show him back once again. So name, and we put a semicolon here, something like that. So maybe yeah, it looks nice, but this should be removed, yeah, like that. And then we put a colon here, then we write name. So this name, why is it showing in blue? Because this name will tell us what his input was. So if he wrote, let's say he wrote enter your name John, so if the user inputted his name to be John, then in this position his John name will return back. So this name is just to show, to display that it's the name that's gonna come. So then we can put print, and then let's say total, right? So we wanted the total marks. So total marks. So which total marks will he get? So what, of course, what the user inputted will now get the total marks. So a colon here, and then we can put a semicolon, and then simply, let me just check. Yeah, it was just total here. So of course this total will be calculated here. You can see here total is equals to S1 plus S2 plus S3. So in simple words, it will be calculated in this function, then it will be returned here as the total marks. What, let's say if John got a 10, 10, 10, that means the total marks he got was 30 here. So that's what will be displayed here. So then we can make another print statement here, and in this print statement we can write average. Simple as that, and then we put a colon here and write average. Simple. So he will get the average here. Then print grade. Of course we left the grade out, so grade, simple like that. And after calculations of all these, maybe he was lying inside 70, then what will they return back here? There, exactly, it will be an A minus. So he will get an A minus if he got a 70% or something like that. So simple as that. We have finished the function to display the report. Simple. And now, after we have finished this, now we come to the last function that is the main program. So of course we have written these functions, but we also have to display those functions to the user, so we have to make a program for that. So let's make another program known as def main program. Simple, like this. And under this we shall just put this colon here. And now after that we can write name S1. We can put S2 here. So then we have an S3. Sorry, just wait a second. I just checked something and I think we made a mistake here. I think there's no need of making a function like literal function. We can just comment this just to show how this will work. So maybe the comment will be main program. Simple, like this. And then let me remove this. Then we shall write name S1, S2, S3. And then, so basically, I'm sorry, I just gone for some break. So we can return back and we wrote name here, right? S1, S2 here, S3. You might be seeing it's showing some error, but just wait a little bit and you will see what the issue was. So we needed to put that equal sign and it will be back to normal. And then we shall write get student data, something like this, and we put this function. So we are, in simple words, we are just calling the function so that it displays this report here. So it will get the student data. Now this thing will actually be displayed to the user interface. You can check it out. Enter your name. Why? Because we have now called the function. In these all processes, we actually didn't actually call the function. We had just written the function, but now we are calling the function, and that's why when we run this thing, we are seeing that it's working. But if you couldn't have maybe called the function here like this, maybe it couldn't have worked. You see that it's showing an error. Or maybe let me just remove this whole thing. And when I remove, you see it's showing nothing. The only thing it's showing is this student report card system. Why? Because we had actually printed that thing. But in these other processes, we hadn't called the function name. And for that reason, we have to call the function name in order to display to the user. So that it can actually input the scores. So let me just do the Control Z here and return it back, something like this. And when we do like this, we can actually see where we can enter your name, maybe hit, then enter your marks. In subject 1, we can put 33. Maybe it's not looking that great because it's mixing up, but maybe you can change it right here. We can put a colon, something like this, and a space here. In subject 2 as well, space, something like this. Then in subject 3, a colon here, something like this. So after we do like this, then there will be some space. You see, there is some space here. Sorry, that was enter your name. I'm very sorry. Let me just return back. So maybe enter your name, then enter marks in subject 1, 33, and 2. So you can see there's actually some space here to make it more clear and organized. So let's just continue with our work, then we shall see how it goes, how it's displayed. So we have done for name S1, S2, S3. Now we are going to do for total. Then comma average, because we also need to call that function for total and average so that the computer can total the marks that the user had inputted, the average the user had inputted. So total average is equals to calculate total semicolon again, because actually it should be the same the way it was here, calculate total and average, so it should be the same. So calculate total and average, yeah, You see, now it works. Then in our brackets here, we can put S1, S2, S3. Now you might be thinking here we didn't actually put, but here we needed to put because we are using these three variables so that it can calculate the total and average, because without these three, now what will it actually calculate? There's nothing that it's gonna calculate because we haven't inputted what it should calculate. So if you don't put this, then it doesn't have work. So what will he do? There's nothing he will do because you have not given him the variables which he will use to get the total and average. So that's why I've put in the S1, S2, and S3. Now, the third will be the grade. Simple. Grade is equals to, okay, this, I'm just using it because we shall use another one. We shall display the report here where we shall write this back again. So that's why the name here, the total grade should be the same, the way it's written down here, so that we can display the report at the end. So grade is equals to get grade. You see, it should be the same function the way it is here. Then we can put our brackets here and write average, so that it depends. If the average is rather 70, then you will get an A minus. If the average is 60, you will get a B plus. So that's why you have to enter this average inside the bracket. So you have to, so that it calculates the average, and according to the average you get, you will get your grade. Simple. And after this, we can now display the report as just written here like this, display report, because without the display report function being called, you will not see all these things. You're not gonna see. So this actually is just for the arrangement. We are calling them step by step. There's no way you'll calculate the total and average function. You'll call that function at the first, then you'll call this function at the end. There's no way. It should be systematic. After all, first of all, we shall be taking the student data. That's why the function for that is number 1. Then we shall calculate the total and average. So it's at number 2. Then we shall get the grade, and that's why it's number 3. And now finally, we shall display report. And inside the display report, we shall just write these variables once again. So it will be name, total. Then we have the average. Sorry, I didn't actually put this here. Total average. Then we have the grade. Something like this. So after these, after you have called this function for display report, you shall they will return back the name, the total, average, the grade. So you shall actually be seeing these things now. So that's great. Now you shall be looking. The user interface will show the name, the total marks, average, and grade. So in simple words, it will give you the report card. So now let's run it and see how it goes. So enter your name, hit Patel. Then enter your marks. Let's say I got a 77 in subject 1. In subject 2, I rather got a 56. Subject 3, I got an 89. So I have inputted 3 scores here in subject 1, subject 2, and subject 3. So after inputting these, let's see what happens. Let me enter. And here it goes. Report card name, Hit Patel, because I had written Hit Patel here. Total marks, it calculated me the total for these 3 scores. Then the average it gave me was a 74.0. So it's a floating digit as well. And grade, I got an A minus. So it is as simple as that. And this was the project I wanted you guys to see. It is a simple project that you can practice, which builds your logic. In simple words, it's a very nice project if you are a beginner. So it's just for beginners, of course for advanced as well, but they know much. But if you're a beginner, you can do this project and build your logic. So it's as simple as that.